So, activity 1. The first activity is about cities. Absolutely. And we are going to be using this map for every one of the activities in the program. And so you'd want to find a place. Now it calls it a floor map. And it will be a floor map, particularly during one of the activities. But initially, I would always post this on a board. Excuse me. So if you have a whiteboard in the classroom, either with magnets or some other way of attaching it, or what I usually do is bring a roll of Scotch tape in my kit, so that if there's no other way, I can always tape it to the board. But I would suggest that you post this on the wall for the first activity so that they get a chance to see it. And you get a chance to talk about the legend, if you will, the key to this map. One of the things that becomes apparent when you open it up is that the multi-purpose and the business zones, their colors are so closely related that it's hard to distinguish them sometimes. But one is orange and one is red. So you might want to just sort of note that and note which of the sections actually is the multi-purpose section, which is pretty limited. But anyway, just to give them an initial idea of the kinds of zones we have in a typical city or an area, a metropolitan area. Post that on the wall to start with. Now, one of the pages that is in this program, and it's for use in this activity, is this zones chart. And I will tell you honestly that I've never used it because I don't feel I have enough time to do that. But it is something you might, if you have enough time, you might want to use it. It's to help them to think about their classroom in terms of zones. But I really felt that we needed a lot more time to get into some of the other activities in this lesson. So again, your choice, but this probably is the lesser of the important issues in this particular activity. The Junior Journal is usually a piece of supplementary material for most of the programs, but in this case, this is absolutely essential to this particular program. And so this is going to be something you'll be giving them right away, and it begins to help them recognize buildings and what zones they might be assigned to. And what I always say to them is to open it up flat to start with. And we're going to use this flat page to begin. All of this green printing is the key to an awful lot of what they'll be doing later on. So I keep referring to the fact that they need to look at the green print on their Junior Journal. It tells them specifically what types of buildings are in each zone. And they'll see, and you can point out to them, that the multi-purpose and the business zones in a lot of ways overlap. So sometimes if they're trying to make a decision about what buildings go where, and they fall in those categories, they can choose either one pretty much. They may be a better choice versus a lesser choice. And then number 12, they'll ask what that's about, and good question. They should create a kind of business or a kind of building that would go in this town that maybe is not reflected here already, and decide what zone it should go in. So they need to think about what they want to put there. The other side of this Junior Journal is going to be for activities 3 and 4. So they'll be working with this later on. But again, this is going to be critical right from the first activity. So that's important to be sure you tell them about that. One of the other things that I have tended not to use since I began the program, when I first began using it, some of these photos were confusing. They weren't as clear as we might think they should be. So they may be useful to you in helping them to identify what kinds of buildings or sections of the city would go in a certain zone, but they can sometimes be a little confusing as well. So again, your choice if you think it's useful to you, but I would certainly be more interested in focusing on this and the zones map and getting familiar with the zones of a city. If this is helpful to do that, that would be great. But that's one that I haven't used an awful lot of. And finally, in activity 1, this postcard, which is a part of every junior achievement kit. With the younger grades, I generally tell them not to remove this magnet until they get home because they may lose it. That would be hard to do with the 3rd grade because they probably wouldn't pay attention to it anyway. So again, just a reminder to their families of what you're doing here. And a lot of the children, by this time, they will say, oh, I still have my magnets from last year and the year before from other junior achievement classes. So they really enjoy that, and they know what to do with that. The inside punches out. So, introductory lesson in the first section.